It's time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day. So join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome back into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. We've only been gone for 22 hours. I know it seems like a century, but we're back, and we are better than ever, continuing on the road, the Palmetto Pigskin Tour. It is stop number 10 tonight, back in Charleston at the Citadel, where I feel very patriotic anytime I'm within the walls of the famed institution of the Citadel, a football program that was rolling for a couple of years, stumbled a bit last season, dropping to 5-6, looking to rebound in a big way, and maybe they will. I tell you, look out for El Cid in the SoCon. Very good-looking offense with a veteran offensive line. Remember, they started 5 offensive linemen last year who were freshmen, so they're all back. They are better. They are more experienced. Jordan Black is ready to be the quarterback. He is highly thought of. They have ample weapons around him. And the defense took a little bit of a hit in terms of personnel, but they think they've got some good young players ready to step in. I'm looking for a bounce-back year for Brent Thompson, year 3 for him as the head coach here with the Bulldogs. He'll be joining us in hour number 2. Along with a couple of players as well. Phil Kornblut here at the Citadel. We're inside the football coaches' offices, and we're waiting for them to wrap up practice. I actually got a chance to watch them for a few minutes over on the practice field, so that was kind of neat. Will Pelagic is in our studios in Columbia, along with the Professor, Tomas Hayes. Our phone number, 800-956-7266. That's how you can reach out and touch us. Our email, talkback at SportsTalkSC.com, and on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. And should you lose us tonight for any reason and you want to stay with us, there's things you can do. You can go to our Twitter feed and watch our Periscope and listen to us there. You can go to our website and go to our YouTube feed, and, of course, our stations who are streaming their signals on the TuneIn app and the radio.com app. We recommend, because they don't preempt us, our Columbia affiliate, The Point Radio, which is available on both of those apps. So that's how you can reach us at any time here on Sports Talk. Now, back in Columbia today, guys, Will Muschamp came out from behind the garnet curtain that he's been behind for the most part since Saturday and spoke at the Columbia Touchdown Club. Will, you were one of the few members of the media in attendance for that, and you picked up a few notes from the Gamecocks head coach.
Well, one thing, again, that Will Muschamp has reiterated to the public there, and thing that he reiterated to us also throughout camp is how bullish he is about his offensive line. That certainly is something that's a very key talking point. He believes that they're going to have a running game this year that they've never had at South Carolina. They took these 2 days off, Wednesday and Thursday, as we've been chronicling for you. They will return to practice tomorrow, treating it like a Tuesday practice, and then go basically Saturday and Sunday. They'll treat those like Wednesday and Thursday practices, then take their customary Monday off, and then get ready for game week against Coastal Carolina. They did say, or he did say, the thing that we at least told you that was said on Charleston Sports Radio yesterday is that J.C. Horn will be among the 5 players on the field in the nickel package, basically playing on the outside opposite of Rashad Fenton. They'd have Nixon at the nickel, Nick Harvey at the safety, and also Stephen Montack on the field at safety. That's going to be one of their base real series if they're going against, again, 10 personnel with 3 wideouts, a tight end, and a back, or something of that nature that is similar to that. But he did name a couple of starters on special teams. He did say right now Parker White is our starter at place kicker. He had cleaned up some things fundamentally from a year ago. One thing that Coleman Hutzler said in an interview earlier in fall camp is that all the field goal woes last year were not necessarily on White. They say he believes he has the leg will make things happen with that. They're not necessarily set on a kickoff specialist as of yet. That's still yet to be determined. Speaking of the specialist, Joseph Charlton was named the second team All-SEC punter. Debo Samuel named the first team All-SEC by the coaches wide receiver, all-purpose back, and return specialist. Zach Bailey was the third-team offensive lineman as named today by the SEC coaches as well, so 3 players getting an honor. And speaking of the return specialist from the punting standpoint, that honor will go to the native Conway, Brian Edwards, who did that in high school while he was at Conway High School, so that's something that he has experience with. Hasn't necessarily done it here, at least over the last couple of years, but they have at least thrust that responsibility on him, Pro.
That is interesting because maybe it's just my habit of watching a lot of punt returners who usually are compact. It's almost like the fear that when you have a guy that big running back kicks, there's more to hit from people running down full speed. So it'll be interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a punt returner that big. Have you, Phil?
Randy Moss, did he not return some punts back in the day? Dion, of course, returned punts. He was a pretty good-sized fellow, but I don't put Brian Edwards in that category in terms of his speed. He's not a blazer,
no,
but he is elusive, but he has great hands, and I'm sure that what they want back there is maturity and security.
Ball security.
Yeah,
that's the thing that Coleman Hutzler was saying is that, they want those punts to be caught first off, and then they want the person who at least gives them the best chance to score. I think that using Debo on punts is probably not something that you would necessarily want. You want to at least limit the amount of reps on the field and get him more in open space on the offensive side and also on kickoffs. And the main topic, of course, of discussion, it was broached by a couple of people, was, of course, the condition of the field at Williams-Brice Stadium. According to Will Muschamp, this is a direct quote from him. Ray Tanner has promised me that the field will be fine. They have contracted a full field service group out of Atlanta. The company they're working with has put fields in place for previous situations in the National Football League, and they've gotten them ready to play in a period of time of 2 to 3 days. They're currently in the assessment phase right now. They've just removed all the kind of sport court stuff off the field. They're seeing whether or not they can get away with replacing certain patches of the field to maintain its integrity, or if they have to roll out a whole brand new set of sod. But once they roll it out, they plan to roll it out on either Friday or Saturday. It should be ready for play in about 2 to 3 days, well in advance of South Carolina's home opener a week from Saturday against Coastal Carolina.
Well, listen, I'm going to drive my truck over there, and any of that old sod they don't want, I'll be happy to throw in the back of my truck, take it home and use it.
You want Beyonce game-used sod? Is that what you want?
Well, I think I can revive it. If it's damaged, I can fertilize it and bring it back to life. I think I can do that. So
I don't know.
It's not a bad idea.
I don't know how good your green thumb is, Corn.
It's good. It's very good. All right, 800-956-7266. Dabo Sweeney is meeting with the media as we speak, or should be meeting with them momentarily. And so we are awaiting words of wisdom from him. Will he announce tonight the starting quarterback for their opener against Furman next week? We shall see. We will hear that from him. We're going to also hear from the Gamecocks' Brian Edwards tonight in terms of his camp and getting ready for, what could be his last season at South Carolina. He'll be draft eligible. If he has a big year, the pros will take a good long look at him. We will be visiting with Mike Morgan tonight. Of course, Morgan on the move. We'll have Mike's thoughts on a number of different topics. Fran Halloran, the money coach, will be with us in his regular segments. We'll have a recruiting update for you as well as we talk about a key defensive target key offensive line target that both USC and Clemson are going after. We've got all that coming for you tonight. And, of course, our visit here with the fine folks at the Citadel. 800-956-7266. I think we can squeeze in a quick call before we hit our break.
We are basically less than a minute out, Corn, unfortunately.
I'm sorry.
Why do I get this view that Dabo should have everybody in the football facility and say, instead of me naming the starting quarterback, let's have our quarterback slide down the slide.
Yeah,
here.
that'd be a fun little unveiling. I think we all know who it's going to be.
I like that idea.
I think we all know.
Not a bad idea, bro.
We all know how it's going to be. I think.
Why don't you tweet that up to Dabo real quick?
We will talk.
See if he can enact it.
We'll get the latest from Dabo coming up, and also the latest from South Carolina. Again, they're behind that Garnet Veil. Your phone calls at 800-956-7266. We got a couple people holding on. We'll take those next. And also the reaction from yesterday's complete just abomination that took place in Columbus, Ohio with the Ohio State Buckeyes. All that and more next on Sports Talk.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network, 800-956-7266. A couple of other things that Muschamp had to say at the Touchdown Club in Columbia today. He really praised the hire of Dan Werner. He would praise his own hire, obviously, but the fact that they looked at Dan originally for the offensive coordinator position, but then decided they wanted to bring him on as a quarterback coach. He said neither Brian McClendon or Dan Werner have egos. We would like to see how that relationship goes between the two of them. I don't know if that was a slight to the man who used to hold that position or not. Maybe I'm reading too much into what Muschamp had to say about Kurt Roper. Remains to be seen. And Corn, I wish I felt as passionately as some people do in booster clubs, not just here, or just all across the country, because I've seen this in multiple locations, Missouri, Texas, South Carolina, everywhere I go, people complaining about kickoff times. Like, seriously. Like, why? Why do they complain about kickoff time so much? This never happens in any other sport, only college football. Like, we get it. They're going to play some games in the heat of the day, in the daytime. Guess what? It's all done for television.
Look, it's too hot. I need time to get soused before a nighttime kickoff. I like to sit in the cool air. I like to see the Columbia skyline behind the stadium at night.
There are people who are from South Carolina who would rather see a nighttime kickoff with no TV than the 12 o'clock kick that'll be broadcast nationally on the SEC network. Like, come on, like that's stupid. Am I wrong? Am I preaching?
Well, first of all, asking the coach about it is fruitless because the coach has nothing to do with the setting of the game time. So you're wasting your time when you raise your hand and you stand up and you say, "Coach, why are we playing a game at 12 o'clock on whatever, September 1 or whatever?"
Literally, is what it sounded like.
Yeah, so that's he's got nothing to do with it. He prepares the team and he shows up when they tell him. South Carolina had a great tradition of night games back when it was a ACC member. Once they put lights into the stadium, and then they became an independent. They played mostly everything was at night. Television was rare in those days, and if you had a TV game, it was a late afternoon game, 3:30, something like that. So they played almost all their games in the early part of the year at night, and as it got colder, they'd play more afternoon games. The Clemson game was almost always an afternoon game until television got involved. So, there's a lot of people who long for those days of the Gamecocks under the lights, and when you get one, it's a lot of fun. But it's up to the television people now. Even ADs will tell you that it's totally out of their hands. It's the SEC, it's the SEC network, it's ESPN. CBS in some instances, depending on the game. It's not up to the schools anymore. They've sold out. I mean, that's part of the selling out of your product to get the money from the television network. So the TV networks can play around with it. They don't care. Of course, the TV networks don't care about the fans' needs or any inconvenience for them. All they care about is the eyeballs on the set.
Guess what? You get a $40 million check every year just based on the television revenue alone. And again, I'll say this again. Your week 2 game against Georgia, I know it's in the heat of the afternoon, of a September afternoon at 3:30 in the afternoon, but that is going to be the most watched college football game all weekend. It is priceless exposure for your football team. Granted, you have to obviously do something with that. It might be bad exposure if they don't do well, but I'm saying that is an opportunity that any school in this conference would die for.
Well, you got to remember now, the history of Columbia is, and Phil could tell you this, that a large part of that push with night games, and people would hear from the Chamber of Commerce, yeah, we love people to come in the day and shop and eat all day and then go to the game at night. You always heard that. That was the Chamber of Commerce statement about Columbia. So people got in the habit of waiting for night games. Now, as things change and TV dictates what you do, the best way, if you want night games or a mid-afternoon game, is to have a good product on the football field. Then they won't put you on at noon.
If you root for the team and you have a ticket to the game, show up at the game time, and that's it. Don't
unless
moan
you have
about
to work.
Don't moan about it.
All right, 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Let's go to the phone lines, and we welcome Eric in Columbia to Sports Talk tonight. Hello, Eric.
I just had a question or two. Just wanted to know, Rashad Fenton, was he injured, and what high school did he come from?
Not injured. He's going to be starting at cornerback, and he is from Florida. I'll have to look up the high school on him, but he's a Florida kid.
Yeah, I think he's from Miami.
I can look that up. But is
Miami,
Florida good enough for
Miami, Florida, Miami Carroll City High School.
There you go.
Yes. Okay. Thanks a lot.
And the reason why you haven't heard anything about him is he's the given.
Gotta say, there's nothing wrong with him. The reason you don't hear from him is because he has basically taken out a complete half of the football field for South Carolina. It's just from that standpoint, it's almost as if he can sit over there and have a sandwich because all he's doing is locking down one side of the football field.
Plus, he's been a good return man for them. Remember, he had at least one touchdown return on a kickoff that I can think of, and had a couple of other lengthy returns. So he kind of made a name for himself. But
it was a flood game, Phil. It was the flood game that they had to move to LSU, and he returned a kickoff about 98 yards.
Okay, and so he's done a lot of good things for them. He is that veteran that they can count on that one side of the field, and they sort of left him alone over there and made him, he's not one of those guys I don't think they would move to the nickel. I think he is locked in there at that cornerback position to give them some security and some stability over there. All right, thank you for your phone call, 800-956-7266. So let's quickly get to the elephant in the room, and that's the Ohio State fiasco from yesterday. And, I mean, look, we've talked about this ad nauseum as this thing was being investigated the last 2 weeks by the folks at Ohio State. We've all expressed our opinion about what should have happened in this situation at Ohio State. The only thing I'm going to say to wrap up my view of it is just shame on Ohio State. I mean, seriously, shame on you. And if this is the message that you want to put out across the country, then that's fine. And the sad part is, as the football season wears on and Ohio State inevitably wins its share of football games and goes into November, ranked in the top 3 or 4 and being talked about as a playoff team, this whole episode will be forgotten about because everybody will be focused on the football season and what's happening on the gridiron, unless something else is uncovered that adds to the story. But my last words on this is shame on Ohio State. You really have made a mockery of yourself.
The insincerity of the Ohio State press conference, the investigation, and the handling of Urban Meyer is jarring and insulting to victims of domestic violence, and jarring and insulting to most people who believe in basic human decency. Whether or not you think or believe that Zach Smith did what he did to Courtney Smith or not, it's easy for anyone to see that there is a pattern of what I would call, at the very least, inappropriate behavior from this now deposed athletic official. And in my mind, that negligence and the fact that he basically gave the benefit of the doubt to somebody who was the grandson of his mentor and put that relationship over basic human decency and actual reporting of what went wrong, it's sickening, it's stupid, and the fact that he did not address the woman's name in the press conference, the victim, Courtney Smith, in my mind, is sick, it's disgusting. He is a vile, trash human being, and he does not deserve the job that he has. It's more than I thought he would get, less than he deserved.
Wow. I've seen that act before. It was when you were in kindergarten and the teacher told you to come up front because you were making some trouble, and she rapped you on the knuckles with a ruler. That was the only thing that was missing in that press conference last night, was the ruler and the rap of the knuckles, including giving the AD a couple of weeks off.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, the one line with that was that deliberately lie. He did not deliberately lie. Well, how do you not deliberately lie? How do you undeliberately lie? That's so stupid.
And to say that he has like momentary loss of memory and this kind of stuff. Come on.
You should be a football coach. That's what.
Who do they think they are fooling here? They're only fooling themselves and they're, as they put it, Buckeye Nation. So that's fine. They're going to have to live with him and live with the consequences that may follow down the road. Again, I don't think we've heard the last of Courtney Smith and her position on this moving forward.
If you support this decision, you belong in hell.
All right, we'll be back. Mike Morgan coming up.
Well, I hate to kill the suspense. We just got the Dabo sound. There's no starter yet, so I'll kill that suspense for you. We don't have a starter yet. He's going to wait till Monday. So,
well, there's bigger news coming out of Clemson today, and I'm glad we've got Mike Morgan with us to analyze this as we. Well, just don't. What? You want me to just go home? Would you like me to just go home? Just let me turn off my mic and just go home.
I do have to do.
I'll be happy. I can turn off my mic, get in my car, and go home.
I do have to do the read. If you would allow me to do the read for Mike,
we're going to do that.
As he is brought to you by BP Skinner Clothiers. People get their custom-made suits and accessories from Brent Skinner, the best in suits, shirts, pants, shoes, and more, available to you. Located in Columbia, you can visit the great showroom in the Vista. No matter where you are, Brent will come to you. BPSkinnerClothiers.com, and by Founders Federal Credit Union, their mortgage team more equipped than ever to help you through the mortgage process. Visit FoundersFCU.com/mortgage to apply today. Corn.
Thank you. As I was saying, bigger news coming out of Clemson today, Mike. Are you ready for this?
I'd rather just hear you guys argue a little bit longer, if you don't mind.
That was no argument.
But
this is the big news. And this is something I want you to analyze. Clemson announced today that a 44-ounce fountain drink at Death Valley will cost you $5 for this coming football season. Now, is that a fair assessment for what a 44-ounce fountain drink should cost, or is that maybe under market or right on the button? How do you see it?
Oh, I think it's a great deal. I think that's smart. If you anybody who's been to the Mercedes Dome here in Atlanta, you know, when Arthur Blank kind of constructed that whole idea, and this applies not only to the Falcon games but other events there, his big thing was, yeah, tickets are going to be pricey, which, as we all know, they are. Parking is going to be pricey, which, as we all know, it is. But you're not going to get gouged at the concession stands. So drinks are going to be reasonably priced. Hot dogs are going to be reasonably priced. Chicken fingers are going to be reasonably priced. And that's the way it is. So I think as the in-game experience becomes a higher and higher priority, because, as we all know, the desire for a lot of fans to go to a stadium jam-packed with people they don't necessarily know, waiting in bathroom lines, sweating, having to deal with obnoxious people, versus sitting in your house in a climate-controlled environment with a nearby bathroom and a 70-inch high-def television, a lot of people have started to lean toward the latter. So college football and pro football has a little bit of a problem on its hands, not in terms of popularity of the sport, but in terms of people choosing TV over going to the game sometimes. So I think anything you can do to sweeten the pot, and that certainly sounds like a measure to do that, is a smart move.
Now, a hot dog, for the record, will be $2. Tub of popcorn will cost you $4. So make your plans accordingly. Yeah, I got no problems with that. Of course, you know, we don't have to pay for our food in the media. I went to a Dodger what we do.
I went to a Dodger game. I went to 3 different baseball venues this summer, and one of them was a Dodger game. I mean, a Dodger dog, I believe, was $8. And I honestly, although it has a reputation of being something special, it's not. You know, a beer. Anybody who's got a beer at a game of late knows how much you get gouged there. It's insane. If you're like me, if you actually are in the stands, you have to eat and you have to drink. It's just kind of part of the experience. So you know you're going to get screwed. So hopefully more and more people that are running these events will be a little more kind when it comes to the cost of concessions.
When you went to Dodger Stadium and had that Dodger dog, was it a Farmer John's sausage hot dog, or?
I have no idea what it was. I know I had a couple of Tums later that night, but it still tasted good when I had it.
All right, on to more serious things. You gave a much more serious answer than I expected. So it's pretty obvious you've got your game face on and you're ready for the football season. And
absolutely.
I'm not going to bore you with Ohio State. We've beaten that drum to death. But what about Texas A&M and the revelations that came out of that place earlier this week from a former player? You think anything becomes of that?
No, not really. I know the situation, and I think you might see more and more of this, although the transfer rules are about to be significantly changed in the SEC. The NCAA has already taken measures. So it is a kinder, gentler rule book for the student athlete in that regard. But in this situation, you have a young man who's a little bit bitter, to say the least. He got himself an attorney, the same one, by the way, who represented Houston Nutt versus Ole Miss and Hugh Freeze and helped take down Hugh Freeze there. Very, very powerful attorney that has made some waves in these types of cases. But in terms of what came out, I don't think it's going to do anything to change Jimbo Fisher, Texas A&M. I don't see the NCAA having this major investigation over this. So to me, it's a story, but it's not a landmark story.
So what are you hearing around the SEC as you game prep for the upcoming season, checking in on various camps? Anything jumping out at you? I mean, for example, Alabama, the quarterback situation there, you got a feel for which way that one's going to end up going into the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was on with you or Will or both a month ago, and I was very adamant then, just from what I know, and I don't pretend that I have inside information, but it's going to be Tua. And and I think if Jalen Hurts plays, wouldn't be surprised at all, especially if you're up by 20 on Louisville in the second half. But I think it's Tua's show. Unless he starts turning it over at a rampant rate, he is the guy. I've felt that way pretty much the entire offseason. And I think, Nick is playing it close to the vest. He doesn't want Jalen Hurts to transfer right now, although I wouldn't be surprised if that happens eventually. And he doesn't want to lose. I mean, why would you? There's no motivation for Nick Saban to tell the media that's going to be Tua. And he's gonna sit here and juggle both guys and keep hope alive for Jalen Hurts to make sure he's got two quarterbacks. I mean, Tua could be the starter and go down with a knee injury in week 2. And if you don't have Jalen Hurts, now you have a problem. So I don't blame him for kind of waffling back and forth on this. But to me, it's the biggest story there is about nothing. And that is on two levels. Number one, I think it's going to be Tua. Number two, even if it wasn't, Alabama is going to be favored in 11 of 12, if not 12 of 12 games with either one of those guys. So we love quarterback controversies in the media, but honestly, I don't think this is much of a controversy. And even if it was, Alabama is going to be a great football team with either one of these guys.
Florida starts out with Charleston Southern, Kentucky, Colorado State, and at Tennessee. I'm setting the over-under at 2 weeks before everyone starts irrationally fawning over Dan Mullen and Felipe Franks. So you taking the over or the under, Mike?
So in other words, you're saying they're going to start 4-0 before the Mississippi State game, and based on that, everybody's going to be in love with Dan Mullen. But yeah. I mean, I think they're already in love with Dan Mullen. Look at what they just got rid of. Jim McElwain was the nightmare that keeps on giving. There's still stories about Jim McElwain coming out. The latest about not letting players transfer. Del Rio kind of going off on his old coach there. But look, the problem is still going to be for Florida is Felipe Franks, an SEC quarterback, and I'm not convinced that he is, and I'm not sure if Dan Mullen is convinced that he is. It's an interesting year in the SEC in that you've got a lot of good returning quarterbacks. Maybe a record number when you think about it. There's about 8-9 guys that you look at as starters in the SEC, and you say, wow, that's a really good situation to have, all the way from Alabama to Kyle Shermer at Vanderbilt. But when you look at those other schools, think about some of the schools that are still in limbo. Florida doesn't feel good about their quarterback. LSU doesn't feel good about their quarterback. Tennessee doesn't feel good about their quarterback. So when you look at some of the premier programs in this league, they still have quarterback issues, which is still disturbing if you're a fan of one of those programs for sure.
Real quick, Mike, what's your opening assignment?
At Ole Miss, week 2.
We'll be looking for you. Thank you, my friend. Have a great weekend as the college season will get underway this weekend. Not exactly eye-popping games, but it is football, like Wyoming and New Mexico State, Hawaii and Colorado State. All right, we'll be back with more recruiting and Dabo Sweeney.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
It is Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, as we come to you from Columbia and the Low Country. Citadel is where our Palmetto Pigskin preview continues. Our tour continues there. We will hear from a head coach and some players coming up in our second hour. Recruiting coming up momentarily as well. Now time to hear from the head coach of the Clemson Tigers, Dabo Swinney. The Tigers back on the practice field today after a day off Wednesday to start class. One note, at least that does not concern the piece that we will show you. There is one Clemson player who's decided to call it quits on a career, and that is defensive end Richard Jurgen, who, if you remember last year, he had the injury in the car accident that affected his neck. He was going to have 2 years of eligibility left to the NCAA rules, but basically the continued injury situation that he continues to go through, he says he wants to hit the pause button on football. So that is one injury update for Clemson, that Richard Jurgen is no longer with the team. Here is an update on those who are still with the team from Dabo.
We quit having practice on the first day of class many years ago because that was always a disaster. But I thought they had good focus and really good energy, moved around well. It was kind of different because we've been in camp mode, good on good, and now all of a sudden you got some scouts. So just trying to get everybody organized and kind of knowing how we have to transition practice now with the scout periods and stuff. But a good start, not a long day on the field, but a good start to what we need to do to get ready for this first game.
Have you made a decision on the quarterback? You're still going to wait till Monday?
Yeah, we're going to put out a depth chart, I think, on Monday, and but we've got a good idea where we are and how we're going to go into this game, and we'll go from there. But we'll put that out on Monday.
What's your health of your team now as you give that?
We're in a good spot. We're in a good spot. We really are. We're very fortunate because this is a tough game and you have to practice tough to get ready to play. And but we've been very fortunate, to this point to come through camp in a pretty good spot. Got a couple guys that got banged up a little bit last week, but I don't think nothing serious or long term or anything like that. I think hopefully everybody will be ready to go next week.
Most of the time when fans are talking about starting quarterbacks, you're thinking guys going to start 95, 100% snaps. Is it possible, or how likely is it that we could see 70%, 60%, 30%, 40% snaps back?
Yeah. Well, I've actually said really for a while now that whoever is the starter, I don't foresee any situation where we are right now where only one guy plays. It's just kind of not where we are. So. We've got that same situation at several positions, to be honest with you, not just quarterback. So, but like I said, we'll put out the depth chart on Monday. We'll have a starting point and see how it goes. Yeah, he just banged up his knee. He's all right. He'll be fine. He ran pretty good today. All those guys are. He and Milan bruised his knee as well, but I think both those guys look pretty good today, and hopefully by Monday they'll be out there ready to roll.
Top quarterback obviously gets a lot of the conversation as far as position battles go. What are some other ones that you think have been really interesting?
Kicker, that's been a really interesting battle. I think punter, Carson King and Spires, and Spires they're pretty close. So I think that's a battle that will continue to see there. And we've had great competition at wideout, tremendous competition. Same thing at backer, corner. I mean, we got three corners that all want to start, and that's really not possible. But with just two corner spots. But so we've had really some good competition at running back, tremendous competition at running back. I mean, very good players that are battling out, and we kind of are where we are right now. We'll see how it goes in the season, but. As I said earlier, man, I probably feel as good about our running back position than any position on our team. And then we got some spots on special teams. That's something we don't talk a lot about, but we got some jobs on special teams that guys are trying to compete to get on that bus. The 72-man roster is going to be tight. It's going to be tight with this roster that we have. So special teams is going to be as competitive as it's ever been.
All right, Dabo Swinney following Clemson's practice today, so we will find out first of next week the starting quarterback situation. Fully expecting it now to be Kelly Bryant based on everything that we've been hearing coming out of camp. And sorry to hear the news about Richard Jurgen having to give up football because of those injuries he suffered and not able to fully recover from that. So always hate to hear when a young man has to give up the sport that he loves because of something like that. Let's go to recruiting now here on Sports Talk. And then in our second hour, Coach Brent Thompson from the Citadel will join us, and we'll have two of the outstanding Bulldogs with us, Jordan Black, quarterback, and Aaron Spann, standout safety. They'll be with us in hour number 2 here on Sports Talk on the Palmetto Pigskin Tour. As far as recruiting goes, update on Ja'Kai Moore, the offensive lineman out of Nokesville, Virginia. Remains one of the top uncommitted prospects in the country. He's in no hurry to make his decision because he plans to take more official visits. Remember, he took an official visit to USC in late April, and he plans to set a date with Clemson. Both remain high on his list. Both are in regular contact. Will Muschamp and Eric Wolford talking to him from USC, and Robbie Caldwell is in touch with him from Clemson. So both continue to recruit him hard. He made an unofficial visit to Clemson in mid-June, the same week he attended a camp at USC. That was his first visit to Clemson, and again, he plans to set an official. At least he said Clemson most likely will get one. He also plans to set officials with Ohio State and Penn State. He's also talking regularly with Florida, Virginia Tech, and Virginia. He's also had Miami and North Carolina on his short list. Virginia offered First Baptist running back Michael Dukes on Wednesday. He also has offers from USC, Wake Forest, Indiana, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, Arkansas, Oregon, and others. Basketball. Clemson offered 6'4" Alex Hemingway, Newburgh, Indiana. This according to Scouts Focus Indiana. Some of his other offers are DePaul, Nebraska, Xavier, and Creighton. Clemson also offered 2020 6'4" Jaden Springer out of Charlotte, who played this season at IMG Academy. He's a national-level recruit, first reported by national basketball analyst Samad Hines. USC women offered 2022 6'1" Ayanna Patterson of Fort Wayne, Indiana, according to the local basketball organization Always 100. And she continues to grow and is now receiving offers from across the country. In fact, her first offer came in the 8th grade from Indiana. So she apparently is a very good prospect. There you go with the recruiting for tonight. Of course, it's always available for you 24/7, 365, 366 days in a leap year, which is an extra special day for recruiting. We get an extra day of recruiting in a leap year. Every 4 years, we get that bonus day. Check it out on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and on Twitter, use the hashtag STRecruiting. I was saying, guys, there is football this weekend. Wyoming, New Mexico State. Listen, we're so hungry for football, we'll watch anything. Wyoming, New Mexico State, Hawaii, Colorado State. Mike Bobo is back with Colorado State after being in the hospital for a while. Duquesne and UMass.
My sister's on mine.
Prairie View. Yeah, Prairie View A&M and Prairie View A&M. Prairie View A&M.
Easy for you to
and
say.
Rice. See if I can do better with this. North Carolina A&T and Jacksonville State.
You can see Zarek Cooper possibly playing in that Jacksonville State game.
That would be a pretty good game too. And New Mexico State, I think, they won their first bowl game since the year of naught, didn't they? I believe
the in-state battle between Rice and Prairie View A&M, because nobody steps into Rice Stadium expects a rout.
But every time
by
you
the
go
way,
to the game, it's over Rice.
Yeah.
By the way, I should have mentioned this, and it's not really a recruiting note; it's a basketball note. But I was talking to a basketball coach today. Remember the big guy who left South Carolina pro? You'd remember him, Eric Cobb. Eric Cobb, remember him?
Yes.
You know, he was one of those guys that left USC under some duress. You know where he is now?
Where?
UConn.
Oh, okay.
Spent a year at Chipola Junior College. He's now at UConn, so he has rebounded to get to a big-time basketball program once again. And, in fact, Frank Martin has kept in touch with him and congratulated him on kind of reestablishing himself in the basketball world. Okay, when we come back, we'll have the folks from the Citadel with us here on Sports Talk.
This is Dr. Gunter.
Round 2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
We are back, Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. We are here at the Citadel for our Palmetto Pigskin Tour stop number 10, our final one of this week. And we always love coming down to the Citadel, love talking to the coaches and the players. We will have quarterback Jordan Black with us in a little bit, along with safety Aaron Spann. But right now we have head coach Brent Thompson joining us here on Sports Talk. We had a chance to talk to Coach earlier in the summer at the Coaches for Charity event in Greenville, and got his thoughts about the beginning of camp, which was right around the corner. Now we get him at the end of camp and looking ahead to game week. It's good to see you once again.
Phil, welcome back, man. Welcome to Charleston. You picked a great day out there. It was not too hot for us out there. We had a great practice, great opportunity for us to get better today.
You told us back in July that you had to kind of put your foot down and do some things to kind of get this team back to where it was when it had a 3-game winning streak to start last year, when it won back-to-back SoCon titles? Were you successful in doing that in camp?
I think so. When we sat down and we had to reflect upon the year before when we were 5-6, one of the things that we thought we were missing was a little bit of an edge. And we put a little bit of that edge back into our offense. We put a little bit of edge back into the defense and back into the team by just the things that we did and how we did them. I don't think that, and this was completely my fault, I don't think we did enough of those little things last year. And when you let those little things go, they start to add up on you.
Yeah. So a bit more physicality in the camp this year?
We did. We were going to have some live sessions in there. We were going to make sure that we were spicing practice up throughout the course of practice. We were also working a lot of different situations. We had to put a lot of our younger players on the defensive side into situations that they didn't or haven't been in the past couple of years. So we thought that when we implemented some of the practice plans that we were going to have to make sure that we put our guys in some hard situations and then some situations where they had to think about what the scenario was and what the thought was on both sides of the ball.
Would you call this your toughest camp since you've been at the Citadel?
I think it ranks up there. Our first camp here was pretty tough back in 2014. We had a pretty good hot camp and a very physical camp. I would rank it up there with that, and we weren't going to let off of it for those same reasons. We felt like we had to get back to where we were in 2014 as far as establishing ourselves as a physical offense and a presence on defense.
How do you feel now about Jordan Black taking over at quarterback? He's been here for 3 years. He's been kind of waiting in the wings for the opportunity to be the man. Now he's the man.
I have no hesitation about it. He's shown his leadership ability all over the summer. He's shown his leadership ability during camp, and he's waited his turn. He's had his opportunities. He's started some games for us. He's come in some duty for us late in games. He's got a great composure about him. We've got no problem. I've got no hesitations. I'm going to turn the complete offense over to him. We're not going to hold anything back.
Mm-hmm. What do you like most about his game?
Well, the fact is that if we call a bad play, he can turn it into a good play just with his feet. That's the one thing that he can do that is different than a lot of the quarterbacks that we've had in the past. Is he's going to make somebody miss. He's going to be able to get some yards, maybe when yards weren't there.
What about throwing the football?
He's got a strong arm. It's a very strong arm. As if we can, that's the other thing about it. If a pass play breaks down, a protection breaks down, he can find an open receiver, and he's also a threat with his legs. So if he gets the defense jumping up, he can throw it behind him. So we're very confident in the throwing game with him as far as just putting him on the move a little bit.
Now, I remember talking to you last year about your offense and your offensive line, and you had like 5 freshmen starting the offensive line, which was, that's crazy. And so you had to live and die with those guys, but now they're a year older. So you benefit from that. You see a more mature offensive line going into this season?
Well, compared to where we were last year, as far as where we are in the playbook and just having everything available to us, we are probably we're operating at about 70 or 80%. Last year, we may have been operating at about 40 or 50% of our playbook in. We feel that we can have more adjustments. We can have more game plan just there. We can call just about anything and we'll get it run and get it run fairly correctly without very many reps. Now, there are certain plays, obviously, that you're going to polish and you're going to work on completely throughout the course of practice and throughout the course of camp. So I think with the offensive line, as we've come a long way in a matter of just a year, we've got some really good players up there that have developed over the last, I would say, 6 or 7 months.
All right, now we're going to be hearing from Mr. Spann here in a little bit, one of the finest safeties in the Southern Conference. What about the losses you sustained, however, on defense? Quite a few number of starters gone. Do you feel like you had players waiting to move up who are going to be good enough to fill those holes that have been created?
Well, if we start on the defensive line, I like where we're at on the defensive line. We're still a little bit thin, but we've got some really good players, some younger players that have developed. Joseph Randolph has got himself in the best shape of his life. He's really looking to have a good year. Jalen Williams returns for us there. Ken Allen returns for us there. So I'm very comfortable with where we are at the defensive line. Now we've got to stay healthy and we've got to do a good job of rotating our guys. And then we've got some really young prospects that I think could be good true freshmen this year. Now, at linebacker there, Willie Eubanks has come through for us. He's had a great offseason. He had a good spring for us. And then we've got some older guys in Phil Davis there filling the role that Miles Pierce once had. So Miles will be a little bit of a loss to us because he started for 3 years for us, was always in the right position. Not a flashy player, but boy, he can make some tackles. On the back end, aside from Aaron, we're going to be very, very young back there. We've got Kafari Buffalo, who was at safety, moved out to corner for us. And he's a junior, so he's going to have junior eligibility wise. So he's going to have plenty of experience back back there. But other than that, we're going to be a little bit of a concern for us right now.
Coach, this is not meant to slight the Wolves of Newberry, but the opening act for you guys is a much different test, going on the road to a SoCon rival, an in-state rival, at Wofford, brand new head coach, team that was in the playoffs last year. How does this test stack up for you and your team, and how prepared do you guys feel to take it on?
Well, we're extremely prepared right now. We've been focusing for the last 2 or 3 days on them, and then of course all of next week. But really, the focus has been probably since January. We've been talking about this Wofford game. We know that our guys are going to be up every single minute of camp. We've been focusing on, hey, everything that we're doing is in preparation for the Wofford game, not necessarily game plan wise, but as far as everything we're doing makes that much of a difference because it is a SoCon opponent. I do know this as we get up to play Wofford, it has become our rivalry just as a staff since we've been here. We've had some very tight games with them, but it's going to be an exciting game for us. We're going to bring the freshman core cadets up there. Our knobs will be there, so it's going to be a great environment. I don't think there's a better way to open up than with the SoCon. We did it a couple of years ago with the Mercer game. It just makes everything that much more important. For me, the tune-up games and those kind of things, I'm not really concerned about that. We want to get out there and try to jump on people early.
Well, Coach, you said your camp was tough this year, and I guess a good byproduct of that is you see some of your guys in uniform where that leadership is going to emerge. Are you comfortable with the voices in uniform that's going to speak up when adversity hits?
Well, you're going to have 2 of them on the air here in a minute, and that's Jordan Black and Aaron Spann. We let them know, and we've got about 6 other team leaders and squad leaders on this team that we've been cultivating throughout the whole offseason with our training program that have helped us out. But we've let that whole leadership council know that this was not going to be an easy camp. We weren't happy with last year being 5-6, and we certainly weren't happy with where how we ended the year with the Furman and the Clemson game. We felt like we were non-competitive, and I think that carried over all through the offseason. And we needed to have an edge and we needed to have a chip on our shoulder. So we all knew that it was going to be difficult and that there was no easy way out for us. But really at the Citadel, there is no easy way anywhere around here. We've got to take the stairs and we've got to take the long way around most of the time around here.
Did you go and consult with anybody in football, any other coaching friends that you have or mentors that you want to just bounce some ideas off of about how do I get this thing back to where it was?
We went on an interesting tour. We started off at Georgia Tech this year, and then we went over to Georgia State this year, and then we went over to Georgia. And really, it was not about scheme. It was more, when we were at Tech, we watched a little bit of scheme, but it was more about practice, philosophy, and really what they had done, because we hadn't gotten out like that. I'd always gone the Navy and I'd always gone scheme wise, but we went as a whole staff this year and we made our rounds as a staff just to try to pick up as much as we could. And when you see 3 different programs like that with 3 different approaches at 3 different levels, Coach Johnson's been there for a while. And then of course, over at Georgia State, he's been there for a year and he's kind of got how we got turned around so quickly. And for him, it was all about physicality. And then, of course, Georgia's such a methodical Nick Saban type of practice right there. You kind of pick up some things just the way the practice has run.
We thank you for joining us. I know it's been a long day for you. Good luck moving forward in the next week. That's going to be one of the big games in the state. Wofford Citadel always is. We'll be watching, and we'll be talking to you during the season.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you very much. Coach Brent Thompson of the Citadel Bulldogs. Players coming up in a moment.
This is the place to talk Tigers, Gamecocks, and more. Sports talk across the state on the South Carolina Radio Network.
And we're back on Sports Talk. It's the Palmetto Pigskin Tour stop at the Citadel. Always one of the highlight stops of our tour around the state of South Carolina, to get a chance to meet with these guys from the Citadel who are truly more than football players and more than students. They're cadets as well. They have got a lot on their plate, and it's a pleasure to have two of the best on the team with us tonight here at Citadel. Quarterback Jordan Black out of Vidalia, Georgia, and safety Aaron Spann out of Dorman High School. Good to have the two of you with us. And Jordan, it's your offense now. It's your opportunity. You've waited for this chance, and they have given you the football and have said, run with it. How do you feel about it?
Oh, it's a great feeling just knowing that I've been put through the process behind Dom just coming up these past 3 years. So I've seen it all, been able to learn from his mistakes and pick up on his strengths and some of his weaknesses and know not what to do and what to do in different type of situations. So it just feels really good being able to be the guy now and get out and do what I do.
What is the edge you bring to the offense?
I'm just that guy that they can look to and know that I'm going to work hard. I'm going to come every day and I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. I focus on the little details, and I'm making sure that I pay attention to those details and bring those fundamentals with me every day. I come to practice, I come to play. So when I practice, I come to play.
Coach Thompson said one thing about you: you're quick. A play breaks down, you have the ability to make something happen.
Oh, yes, sir. I'm good with my legs. I like to get out and scramble, get out in space, and make a couple guys miss. So that's what I like to pride myself in, being able not to go down off that first tackle.
Yeah. Aaron, is he hard to knock down?
Yes, sir, he is. Very shifty, quick feet.
Is that right?
I wouldn't lie to you.
Even for a guy like you?
Even for a guy like me.
Yeah. Can you catch him in the open field?
Oh, yeah, I can catch him.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
He's quick, but he's slow.
He's quick, but he's not in a hurry.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Aaron is out of Dorman, where he was a standout for the Cavaliers. In fact, his dad played over at Spartan High. We were talking about that, so we got cross-family rivalry there. What about this defense? You lost a lot of really good players, starters off of last year's defense. How's it looked in camp in terms of replacing those guys and getting a good unit together?
You know, those guys laid a good foundation down for us. We take the things that they did, like Jordan said, and we learn from it. We have a lot of guys that are anxious to get on the field for their first season starting or getting playing time, period. But we take things day by day, just looking forward to the future in the first game.
Let's talk about what happened last year. You won your first three. You were coming off back-to-back great years. You won your first three. Things were looking good. Looked like the Citadel was on a roll, and then something happened. You guys lost your focus, lost your chemistry, whatever the case may be. Aaron, what did you see from last year where it got away from you guys that now you've sort of gotten it back?
We just got too comfortable. We got too okay with our situation. We didn't want more. But I feel like this season we want more. We're not comfortable with our situation at all. We got picked 7th in the preseason rankings, which I feel like was a slap in the face. But you know, we take that and we run with it. You know, we use that as fire to the field.
Describe for us the physicality of the camp this year.
Well, you know, it's triple option team, full pads every day. In the heat, Charleston heat is second to none. Going at each other 24 periods.
Yeah. Yeah, how about on the offensive side, Jordan? Now that you have assumed control of the offense, but you got got like 9 starters back. So in leading those guys who've been through it and who kind of struggled with it last year, what are you seeing in that group and getting back to the type of winning offense that the Citadel has had?
Well, like you said, we got a lot of guys coming back, so they got that experience from last year and they got that bad taste in their mouth. So what we went through last year really helped us out to focus on our offseason this year. We used a lot of examples from last year to learn from. So now we feel like those guys got that experience. So now they can learn from their past mistakes and grow and definitely use that experience to come up on the season.
Do you sense that hunger?
Oh, yes, sir. This past offseason was like none other since I've been here at the Citadel. Like Aaron said, we kind of got complacent, and that really woke us up to realize that this conference is tough and that we got to come out every week by week. We can't come out thinking that we can just go out there and play. We got to come with it every week.
So, Aaron, you get to go home to open up the season. Now, let's see, you didn't play at Gibbs Stadium because Dorman University has its own beautiful stadium.
Yes, sir.
You didn't have to go to Wofford. So you'll be going over to Wofford. And first of all, what it's going to be like for you to go back to Spartanburg to play in your senior year, and then facing Wofford, a team, offensively very similar to the offense you see every day in practice.
Well, I couldn't picture a better story going back home senior year, first game of the season. And I actually did play in Gibbs Stadium. Spartan High plays in Gibbs Stadium right now, right? So that's just picture perfect for me going back home. Family's going to be there, friends, church members. That's just great for me. Also going against Wofford, we can get some similar looks in practice from our offense, so that really helps. And just scouting them out, it's always a slugfest when we play them. Low scoring games, heavy defense, running the ball. So I'm looking forward to that.
Jordan, Southern Conference opener, in-state rival game. How important is it for you guys? And I mean, I know this is a cliche question. You want to win every game, but coming off the kind of year you guys had and trying to reestablish yourself, how important is it to win this opening game?
This first game is big for us because it's going to establish our identity. It's a SoCon game. We don't start off with a non-conference game, so really we starting into that fire right for the first game. So this is really big for us. We need to come out and we need to play our style of ball and hopefully get the win. And that's really big for us just to start the season off on the right foot.
I know you guys have started looking at the film of Wofford's defense. What are you seeing from those guys? Obviously, like your defense, they know how to play against a triple option.
Yes, sir. Well, they had a tremendous coaching staff. They also run the triple like we do, so they know exactly what type of things that the triple offense wants to do. So those guys are really coached up well, and when they try to fit their fist, they know exactly what they're doing. So it's really good for us to play our defense because they're a similar style, and they've seen it before. So it really helps us out just playing and getting those reps against our own defense and get ready for Wofford.
So, Aaron, you're a team captain, and you're a captain in the Corps. Mm-hmm. What does that mean to you as you wrap things up here at the Citadel?
It's a great honor and a blessing. You thank God every day for the opportunities that you get. I just embrace it, with my teammates. It's not all on me. I got brothers here like JB, other guys on the team who help me with leadership roles and things of that nature. And I just thank God for those guys. It's a brotherhood, and I'm not shouldering all this weight by myself. So
yeah, Jordan, we outsiders, we hear the stories about life at the Citadel. We know as you get older, it maybe gets a little better, but it's tough in those early years. Was it tough for you those first couple of years?
Yes, sir. Definitely that first year, the knob year, it's no joke. It's second to none, like Aaron said. There's no easy way here at the Citadel. They make sure you take the long way, and it's the road less traveled. Definitely, it's actually put a big impression on me because I'm going into the Air Force after I graduate. So it really instilled a big thing to me. It really teaches you a lot more things, more than just discipline. It teaches you life lessons. So I'm really appreciative. At the moment, I might not have been, but you can definitely see in the big picture.
You're glad you stuck it out.
Yes, sir, definitely. It's a tremendous accomplishment.
Aaron, is the NFL in your future?
Yes, sir. I think so full-heartedly it is. Yes, sir.
What are you hearing from the scouts?
Just good things, just being more consistent with things. They've been talking to me constantly every time they come in, but looking pretty good. Yeah. Had a couple teams come through this past summer.
Yeah. Physically, you're lucky you can handle it. How tall are you?
6'2".
And you weigh?
205.
205. Mm-hmm. And you bring a load? Does he bring a load?
Oh, yes, sir. He's definitely bringing that shoulder down every time he comes. So,
who's the nastiest player on defense? You don't have to say it's him because he's sitting there, but who is the nastiest
definitely
player?
Not Aaron. But, we have another Aaron Brawley on the defense, and when he gets on the practice field, he takes no prisoners. He got no friends on that field, no matter who he's playing against, and he's real nasty.
Well, I want folks to know they can't see you, but you guys didn't have to get dressed up for us tonight, but you're in your fatigues. Yes. Usually the guys come over here, they're still in their football stuff, but you guys are in your fatigues. I like that. Yes. So you're ready to go out and party tonight, huh?
No, far from it.
Not happening. Huh? Not happening. Listen, good luck to you guys. We really appreciate you coming over. Hope you have a great season. Good luck against Wofford.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Aaron Spann and Jordan Black with us here on Sports Talk, our Palmetto Pigskin Tour from the Citadel. And that should be, guys, a phenomenal season opener in Spartanburg between the Citadel and Wofford. Two teams very capable of doing big things, and two teams who are hungry to get off to a great start.
They're looking for some payback. I mean, goodness, what is it? 18 out of the last 20 years, Wofford has won that football game. So they need to catch up.
Look forward to that one to help open the season in South Carolina, and we'll be back. Sports Talk in a moment.
Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. We're brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Whether it's low rates or high reward, using select Founders credit cards on clothes, school supplies, a new computer, even college tuition will help you prepare your kids for their first day of school. Apply online at foundersfcu.com/visa. We, of course, turn our attention now, Corn, speaking of money, to L Money Coach.
Fran Halloran, the money coach, joining us here on Sports Talk. You know, I'm here at the Citadel, Coach, and you've kind of got that Citadel look to you. Did you ever consider going to the Citadel?
I went to the Citadel.
Local knowledge, Corn. Way to go.
Maybe I should read your bio from time to time.
No.
Well,
you wouldn't have known that. The gist of it is, and it's a long, drawn-out story, but when I pretty much bombed out of the Naval Academy system, Charlie Taft, who was at the Citadel at the time, who had recruited me when I was when he was at West Point, he gave me a shot at the Citadel, and I played ball down there for a year. And then, frankly, I just ran out of money, and Coach Taft couldn't offer me a scholarship fast enough, so I went on up to Newberry to finish my degree.
Oh,
so, yeah,
okay.
I spent some time down there when I got out of the service, and so I was down there as a veteran student, but played a little ball. It was a good experience.
Oh, no doubt. We just had two.
You could see it. You could see it even back then that Charlie Taft was going to straighten all that out. He was one heck of a coach, but Coach Taft had some demons, just like Urban Meyer has some dadgum demons.
Yeah. What do you think all this means to Urban, Ohio State? Do you think it really, in the long term, once everybody gets immersed into the football season, this is going to be forgotten about, water on a duck's back, that sort of thing?
Unfortunately, yes, Corn, but that says that's really what's wrong with college football today. Let me really bring this to from a financial position. As a financial advisor, when I sit down with someone, I have what's called a fiduciary responsibility to act in their best interest, right? Well, if you're the CEO of a company, you have the same fiduciary responsibility to do what is in the best interest of your shareholders. The head football coach at a college or university in this country, especially Ohio State, has the same kind of fiduciary responsibility. Do no harm, do not misrepresent, do not embarrass your institution, or your tail's going to be fired, period. So much for that with Urban Meyer. The two biggest jobs he's ever had, Florida and Ohio State, he has left a trail of problems at both schools. Unfortunately, people are going to just let this, as you put it, water off a duck's back. And that's the problem, because this is all about one thing, money. Ohio State was not winning regularly before Urban Meyer got there. Now they are. They've won a national title. And you know what? Because of that, they are willing to turn their heads. Where's the Me Too movement? Why aren't they raising sand with Urban Meyer and his lack of being responsible to this young lady, this coach's wife? It boggles my mind how much influence money has over college sports. This is all about one thing, and that's money.
I hope that you're wrong in your initial stance and that it's going to go away, because I think that there are enough powerful people in the media who have said negative things about Urban Meyer that at least can perpetuate the fact that this is not going to go away and that there needs to be more oversight. There are a lot of questions that even came out after the press conference in the very detailed 23-page report from Ohio State that still have not been answered. And I have to think that once Urban Meyer resumes his post after the third football game for the Buckeyes, he's not done answering questions about this. I'm more of the mind that this is only just beginning in my mind, Coach, instead of having just concluded.
And you know what, Will, I'm not going to disagree with you there in this sense. I do think there will be plenty of people who ask questions, but they're good. It's all window dressing. But here's what's going to ultimately happen. The powers that be at Ohio State are going to have conversations with the powers that be at ABC, Fox, NBC, ESPN, and everyone is going to say, we'll give people a little bit of leeway, but ultimately we want this to end sooner than later, because if it doesn't, it's going to hurt us all monetarily. And that's what really irks me about this. There is no accountability with some of these college coaches. A 3-game suspension, and it's hardly a 3-game suspension. Heck, he's gonna get to practice with his team after weeks 2 and 3, and ultimately practice is when you want to be on the field. Saturday or Friday night or Saturday games, even in the pros, the hay's in the barn. The guys know what they're doing. The head coach could miss a game and it wouldn't hurt a bit. That's what he's got coordinators for. This is a slap on the wrist kind of punishment, and it is all because of money. And that's why I keep saying money and sport. I realize the two go hand in hand, but it's going to ultimately ruin college football.
Well, Fran, from the standpoint of you working and dealing with financial advising, you always take the long-term view.
Correct.
And see, the long-term view for me says this is a Band-Aid over a bullet wound, because I gotta feel that.
I love that.
I gotta feel that parents are going to say, look, you're not playing for that guy. I know you got a scholarship. So over time, Ohio State will win their football games, but somehow brick by brick, you see a Urban Meyer there that over time that program could deteriorate, taking the long-term view of it as long as he's there.
I think you raise a very valid point, but I think what you really are counting on is the goodness of mankind to do the right thing. And what I really see in our world financially today, especially with college sports, is that money is the driving force of almost everything in college football. And people, including parents that we would never expect would let their kid do something like go play for Urban Meyer, they also have to see the dollar signs. Ohio State, big-time program. A lot of guys go to the NFL draft. Am I going to be willing to turn a blind eye to this? And unfortunately, there are going to be parents who will, because they're going to just say the payday is too extreme on the other end for my kid.
I know it's not.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Coach. No, you go ahead.
I just think Ohio State had a chance, kind of like North Carolina had a chance last year and the year before and the year before that at UNC, to fix something, to send a statement, to make a statement about college athletics, and no one's willing to do it. No one is willing to do it. And I keep waiting for an institution to stand up and say, we are really about the student first and the athlete next, and behavior and morals and proper behavior. And no one is willing to do that because the money is so influential.
But don't you think, and I'd like to think, that Ray Tanner, Dan Radakovich, if a similar situation occurred under their watch at their schools, they wouldn't stand for it?
I think 100% with Coach Tanner. I don't know if I've ever met a more moral, upright gentleman than Ray Tanner. I can't speak for Radakovich, but I can say this. Dabo sometimes will let some things fly under the radar. And don't forget about that video that was out not too long ago. I realize it's apples and oranges here, but that got pushed away very quickly because Dabo didn't want anybody talking about it. But I do agree with you 100%, Coach Tanner. There's no way this would happen at South Carolina because he wouldn't allow it to be a black mark on the university. He wouldn't allow it. He absolutely wouldn't allow it.
Yeah, and one thing I always liked about Spurrier, too, was his very, not going to say outspoken, but upfront position about violence towards women. If one of his players had any kind of an issue, or coaches had any kind of an issue like that, gone, no questions asked. Yeah.
Gone.
Wasted no time with it. Coach, as always, we enjoyed it. Love hearing from you. I hope you enjoyed the concert the other night. I know you had some great tickets. You were in there boogieing with Yancey and company, so hope you enjoyed it.
Have a wonderful evening. Great to talk to you as always.
We will.
Will'd you go to that concert?
I was not. I was at Clemson. You knew that?
Well, I thought you were. I didn't. The main thing didn't start till like 10 o'clock. I figured you made it back.
No, I did not.
Oh.
These guys, they never sleep. Check them out on the web at SportsTalkSC.com. Now, more of Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
A quick Gamecock note that arose from the call-in show of head coach of the Gamecocks, Will Muschamp, which is going on currently. This was addressed in his discussion at the Touchdown Club, but wanted a little bit more detail here on his coach's show. He said that he absolutely believes that they will hear from the NCAA a yay or nay on the waiver cases for both Josh Belk and Jamel Cook. He had only alluded to the fact that they had just turned in their paperwork and basically everything that we had heard up to this point, everything is in the hands of the NCAA. But he does believe that he and Chance Miller of compliance should know the status of Jamel Cook and Josh Belk, the two transfer cases, and whether or not they'll be able to be immediately eligible by the time the season starts a week from Saturday. Corn.
All right, that would be big for them if they could get those two guys into a Gamecock uniform. Let's take a moment. In fact, we'll hear from the Gamecocks' Brian Edwards here coming up in just a couple of moments. Let's welcome in Keith Allstep, our good friend, to Sports Talk with his Locked on the Gamecocks podcast. I believe a new version is out and ready for folks to listen to. Keith, what do you have?
Hey, Phil. Great to be with you guys. We dropped an episode this afternoon, the latest Locked on the Gamecocks podcast. We talked about newcomers that would make an impact, and certainly I think Josh Belk and Jamel Cook, should they be deemed eligible, would be impact newcomers. I think really the two that are standing out right now would be on defense, J.C. Horn, who could be a day one starter at corner, and then Josh Van, who did not arrive until this summer, has really worked his way up the depth chart and would probably be the first receiver not in the starting group to enter the game, maybe even before Ortre Smith. But I really think there's a lot of optimism, Phil, from our sources on Josh Belk getting his eligibility, not quite as much optimism with Jamel Cook. But, you know, should Josh Belk be eligible, I just think it's a big-time game changer for the interior of the defensive front for South Carolina. They're really looking for players in there, and he, you know, literally and figuratively is big and strong, and that's what they need. They need more run stoppers on the interior of the defensive front. So you can find us anywhere you get your podcast, iTunes, Google Play, the Stitcher app, SoundCloud, Locked on the Gamecocks podcast.
Thank you, my friend. Good hearing from you. And so some optimism, Keith says, regarding Josh Belk, not so much on Cook. Well, if you're the Gamecocks, as many times as you've been denied, guys, if you can get one of the two, you'll be happy.
I think Cook has a better case, honestly, than Belk does, just because of the whole going across the country situation. I just don't know if Belk has one that is compelling enough to allow him to play. But if you can get one of those two guys, I think I'd prefer Cook, honestly.
Yeah,
I would prefer.
I go the other way. I prefer the lineman. I always in the lineman, and when you got a guy that's naturally strong, you know, he may not have the body of a god, but you could tell he's immovable. He's a guy that's hard to move.
From what I've heard on the Cook situation, there's a little bit more involved in his deal that would work against him, excuse me, being eligible than it is with Belk. Belk's in a little bit better standing in some critical areas compared to Cook. So that's one of the reasons why I think there's more optimism towards the big guy than it is towards the corner. But Brian Edwards, a guy that's going to have some extra duties this year. You know, it's not enough that he is an outstanding receiver, all SEC caliber receiver. They want him returning those punts.
They do, and in addition to Will Muschamp at the Columbia Touchdown Club today saying that the man Parker White will retain his place-kicking duties. He will, again, as Brian Edwards, you mentioned, he will add punt return duties to his other duties on the football field. Here's a little bit from Brian Edwards earlier in camp.
Peltzer mentioned you were working at punt return.
Yeah.
Have you done that before? How do you like it?
I mean, I did in high school, you know. Honestly, it's just if they want me back there, they think I'm the best guy to do it, I'll do it. You know, it's whatever to make this team win. I'm for it.
It seems like the returns on the running game were high after the last scrimmage. How much does that help you guys as a receiving core in the passing game?
It's always fun when you can see those guys, bust big runs, and it kind of opens us up for one-on-ones outside. So
a lot was made last year of Shy not dropping a pass. Does he ever talk about that? Do you guys kid him about it?
Honestly, it's something we don't even talk about like that. I mean, we see it on social media and things like that, but I mean, he does what he's supposed to do, not drop passes. That's part of being a receiver.
Is he a quiet guy, loud guy in practice? How's his personality?
Shaz, he's like a ball of energy. He's always, upbeat, always, just ready to go. And, he's just one of those guys,
Brian, how much pride do you take in not going down after first contact?
That's something that, we preach in the receiver room, getting, yards after catch and yards after contact. So, we take a lot of pride in that and just making plays with the ball in our hands.
Since the yellow jersey came off, what has Josh Vann been able to kind of show you guys?
Josh Vann's, you can tell just by the way he moves and things like that he's going to be a special playmaker here. It's all a part of getting through those freshman growing pains as far as learning what to do, doing it the right way, and, playing with energy and urgency and how we want to play here.
Brian, how often have you matched up with Nick Harvey?
A good amount of times before he made the move to safety. And, Nick Harvey's going to be a great player here, I think. He's an older guy. You can tell he knows what he's doing. And, Coach Muschamp is obviously going to have his guys ready to play.
Who's won the majority of the matchups between you two?
We're going to keep that one in-house. We don't talk about it.
Do things feel more open when Debo's on the field for you?
I mean, obviously things feel more open. Things just collectively feel better as an offense when Debo's on the field because it's another playmaker that goes out there and, plays hard, and he does what number one does.
How's wide receiver rotation work now that, Josh Vann's getting ready to, I think he was taking second team snaps. So just what's that been like a couple weeks now in the camp?
It's pretty good. It's way better than when I first got here. It was kind of just me and Debo taking a lot of reps. But we got a great rotation going. Guys are subbing in and out, and it's all moving fast. So, we got to have a lot of bodies that are going to play this year.
That is a little bit from Brian Edwards, wide receiver on the Gamecock roster. I'm getting hammered from this guy, Sandlapper Spike Corn, on the discussion we were having earlier about the kickoff times. They paid for their tickets. They have every right to complain about noon games and 95-degree weather. And I said, the game time for Coastal Carolina was announced like halfway through the summer. Like you knew that was going to be the case, whether or not. I mean, I've never seen such moaning and whining and just overall douchebaggery from people who could just go to the game, lay off the sauce for a week, maybe don't get completely blitzkrieg drunk before a football game for a change. Maybe hydrate, lather up with sunscreen, fill the building. You inconsiderate jerk. God bless it.
Yeah. They'll have 80,000 for Coastal. They should.
I'd hope so.
Opening game. Everybody should be excited. And again, the game times are, you just have to accept them. If you're going to support your team, you just have to accept them. The teams don't set them. It's up to the TV people and the leagues to do it. So suck it up and be there as a good fan. I want to update the first tournament of the FedEx playoffs, the Northern Trust in New Jersey, in beautiful Paramus, New Jersey. I'd like to vacation there one day.
No, you wouldn't.
There's a very interesting leaderboard. You got 4 guys at 5 under. Kevin Tway, Jamie Lovemark, Vaughn Taylor, and Sean O'Hare. This leaderboard is so tight. You have got, 79 golfers are even par or better. And the lead is only -5, so it's very tight. Dustin Johnson's at 4 under. Mickelson's at 3 under. Sam Saunders is at 3 under. Kevin Kisner's at 2 under. Jordan Spieth is 1 under. Tiger Woods an even par 71. Kyle Stanley an even par 71. Russell Henley's even par. Bubba is even. And William McGirt +5 and Scott Brown +5. So anybody even par or better, very much in this one after round 1.
I can say with great authority, Corn, you do not want a vacation in Paramus, New Jersey.
Because, I mean, what's the problem?
It's freaking New Jersey. That's why.
Oh.
Wow.
Why is it called the Garden State if you say it's freaking New Jersey?
It's got the world's most visible garbage dump from space. So that's a complete misnomer from them anyway.
I thought that was Long Island.
No. It's New Jersey.
There's some New Jersey people with tweets who live in Columbia now.
Yeah.
They're talking to you.
All right, guys. You guys have yourselves a great night. Look forward to being with you tomorrow night. My thanks to John Brush and the folks here at the Citadel for a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.